Thunder Bay man identified in a Cam River tragedy. The former Hillcrest High School turning into condos. And the CLE Carnival Games are put to the test. Good evening and thanks for joining us. Thunder Bay OPP have confirmed the body found in the Kaministiquia River on Tuesday afternoon was indeed that of a boater who went missing nearly 2 months ago. 56-year-old Terry Wineland of Thunder Bay had gone boating on the Dog River portion of the Cam River on June 13th when he suddenly disappeared. An OPP search of the immediate area turned up nothing, but family members discovered Wineland's boat 2 days later near Kakabeka Falls. An OPP dive team and helicopter crews from both the MNR and the OPP came to aid in the search over the next few weeks, but failed to turn up any sign of the missing man. The body was discovered on Tuesday by 2 people fishing on the river near the Highway 102 bridge. An autopsy was conducted this morning and confirmed the identity. Well, the new co-owner of the former Hillcrest High School has big plans for the site. Sharon he wants to turn what is now known as the Center of Change into condos. However, the idea is coming as a surprise to those currently leasing space in the building. So he says the project is in the early stages. He believes it will take another 6 months to a year before work on the condos would start. So he says he would honor the current lease agreements and work with the tenants. Some of those with space in the building now say they're caught off guard by the plans.
I'm a little unimpressed that I had to hear, the first I hear about maybe there being condos put in and us being relocated or uninhabited here was from you guys, from the media. And honestly, out of courtesy, it would have been nice for the new owners to send a memo around or something.
So he believes it would take about 3 years to convert the entire 144,000 square foot building into condos. Well, it was back to court from Bombardier and Unifor today. An injunction was filed by the company over a number of concerns with the picketers outside of the Thunder Bay plant. The issues include wait times that exceed the previous protocol agreement, police response, and the potential for an escalated incident. The company also wants to have buses allowed in and out of the plant property to pick up and drop off non-uniform employees. According to lawyers for Bombardier, a vote was held at one point to decide if plant manager Aaron Rivers should be kept waiting longer. As well, an issue was raised over the removal of picket line orders which were posted outside the plant near the main gate. Local Unifor President Dominic Pasqualino admits there have been a few incidents, but he says for the most part they are following the protocol. He, along with Bombardier, are disappointed that no decision was made.
I think we have a good chance of the judges having us follow the protocol and continuing on, because last week, like I said, the incidences were non-existent, and I think that we're understanding the protocol better now as time goes by. She's reserved her judgment until later, and we're looking forward to her answers, and we will abide by whatever rulings are.
Bombardier spokesperson Stephanie Ash says she's happy with the way the company's lawyers presented their side, and she hopes that Justice Helen Pierce rules in their favor. She says Bombardier wants to see stricter guidelines imposed and their safety concerns addressed. Well, the parent company of GRK Fasteners is now commenting on the impending closure of its local operations. As we first told you on the NewsHour yesterday, the facility on Roslyn Road is being relocated to the U.S. Illinois Tool Works Construction says it will close the facility on December 31st after considerable analysis of global fastener capacity and market demand. ITW says the decision was difficult, but the company feels moving the operation south of the border will enhance the long-term competitiveness of the brand. The plant employs roughly 40 people, and all employees will receive separation benefits. ITW says the decision to close the facility in no way reflects the level of skill or dedication of the GRK workforce. ITW purchased the operation in 2011 from the Walther family. The deal was contingent on keeping the operation in Thunder Bay for 3 years. Well, a closed meeting investigator says Thunder Bay City Council did nothing wrong during a meeting this past April. A complaint was filed with the arm's-length investigator claiming council acted improperly. This is only the third complaint filed since the system was set up in 2007. All findings are made public. City Clerk John Hannam is reviewing the ways to reduce the amount of time council spends behind closed doors. This current term has held 126 scheduled closed session meetings, and that number doesn't include the number of times council will go in camera in the middle of a meeting. Hannam says that is much more often than councils of the 1990s. However, he adds that's a reflection of the complexities of covering a municipality today.
A good third of the work that we do in closed session has revolved around solicitor-client privilege issues. We had a lot of litigation and other complex issues that involve legal advice, and that's just the nature, as I said earlier, the nature of business for municipalities these days.
Hannam doesn't believe the number of closed-door meetings is important. He feels it's more a question of what are the issues being presented behind closed doors. Well, a traffic stop for speeding near Upsala on Highway 17 has led to Thunder Bay OPP to seize approximately 168,000 contraband cigarettes. Police have arrested and charged a 66-year-old Alberta man. The charges include possession of unmarked cigarettes for the purpose of sale. The driver has been released and will appear in court in October. Police are investigating an early morning robbery that happened on the south side of the city. Police responded to a call at 3:30 this morning at the Robbins Donuts at the corner of May and Arthur Streets. Staff say a man entered the coffee shop armed with a knife. He then demanded money and fled on foot with an undisclosed amount of cash. The suspect is being described as Native Canadian, about 6'1" and approximately 35 to 40 years old. Anyone with information is asked to contact City Police. Well, residents of McIver Court on Lincoln Street say they're fed up with the bed bugs and they don't think the problem is getting any better. The residents first noticed the insects more than a month ago when one tenant moved in from the Royal Edward Arms. Sixth-floor resident Pauline Pemmican says the man's apartment has been sprayed numerous times already, but to no avail. Now about 10 more apartments have been affected, all of them on the 6th floor. District housing officials have been notified and exterminators have been on site to spray the units many times. Pemmican found a few in the bed bugs in her apartment. She says she's tired of seeing the problem drag on and says she doesn't know what else to do at this point.
Anything, there's people been calling housing and asking if they would do something about the problem, but so far we haven't heard anything. All I heard is that they're going to be doing the apartments, but I haven't heard anything yet.
District Social Services Manager Bill Braddock confirms they have a bed bug problem at McIver Court. He says they've been spending a lot of money hiring pest controllers this year to try to get the problem under control. But he says since DDT has been banned, it's become much more difficult to eradicate the bugs. He's encouraging district housing residents to call their building managers whenever bed bugs appear. Well, the deputy leader for the federal Green Party is dealing with the conflict in Gaza on two different fronts. Local MP Bruce Heyer received a letter last week from the local Muslim Association regarding the bombing by Israeli forces. And now the president of Heyer's Green Party has resigned amid controversy over comments he made on the situation. Paul Estrin issued a statement Tuesday saying his resignation is effective immediately. Estrin wrote a blog last week called Why Gaza Makes Me Sad, which expressed his support for Israel. He later said the essay reflects only his personal viewpoint and not that of the party. Heyer says although he disagreed with the essay, he wouldn't have forced Estrin to resign.
He's entitled to his opinion, and as you know, we're the only party that doesn't whip MPs or presidents or anybody in the party. But he did, when he posted those very strong opinions, identify himself as president of the Green Party, and that was inappropriate because it was really quite different than the position taken by the party as a whole.
Heyer says there's blame on both sides, but the Green Party feels Israel has gone way too far in its military response to the Palestinians. Last week, local Muslim Association advisor Waleed Shalhal wrote a statement to Heyer in hopes that it would be forwarded to Prime Minister Stephen Harper. He believes the targeting of civilians by Israeli forces needs to stop. Heyer says he agrees and will bring the message to Ottawa.
I've read it carefully, and I agree with their position. And I will be quite happy to perhaps even introduce the letter to Hansard in the House of Commons. And certainly, as I said, I will be working hard to take Mr. Harper and the Conservatives to task on their total lack of balance on this issue.
Meanwhile, Heyer will be hosting Green Party leader Elizabeth May this weekend. The pair will be attending the Red Rock Folk Festival on Saturday. Well, it's day 2 of the Canadian Lakehead exhibition, and although many people just go for the rides, there's also that mysterious allure of the games of chance. So today, we sent our high school intern, William Dougal, to the CLE to try out the carnival games and find out which ones are the easiest, the hardest, or nearly impossible to win.
We embarked on the task of finding the hardest carnival game at the CLE. I attempted around 8 different games throughout the afternoon. Some games I had successes with, others not so much. As I quickly realized, these carnival games weren't as easy as they were first sought out to be. Games like the Star Darts turned out to be very formidable opponents for this intern. And I didn't do any better in the softball toss, in which you try to throw a softball into an old-fashioned milk can. But I was not to be deterred. I continued to try each game that I could. My luck just didn't change.
Maybe the games are impossible. Maybe the games are set up for kids. Maybe the intern is just god-awful at playing the games. Regardless, the world may never know.
Locally raised carnival attendant Jody Bone has been working at carnivals like this one for about 5 years.
I'm originally from Fort Frances, and we used to go to the fair there too, so I got to know a lot of people, and I like it. I get to see all the kids.
The one game I had some success at was the ring toss. Bone says she thinks the Star Darts are the hardest game at the fair. She also told us her favorite game currently at the CLE.
It's the color table. I do pretty good on the color table when I play.
Although I'm having a great time, I haven't had the best success. William Dougal, TBT News.
Well, good for William. He at least has a couple more days to master those skills before the CLE wraps up.
I love that report. That's
Yeah,
too
that was
funny.
good.
So it's sunny, but what do we have for the weekend, Phil?
Yeah, it's the nice weather streak continues, so hopefully you can get out there and enjoy the CLE while the weather lasts. It's expected to stay sunny and in the mid-20s all through the weekend, but there is a slim chance of a bit of precipitation on the horizon. I'll let you know about that a little later on. What we did see today was a daytime high of 25 degrees with the humidity, felt a little bit more like 28 degrees. Sun cloud mix. Winds were coming out of the southwest this morning. Around noon they were coming out of the north, but for the majority of the afternoon coming out of the east-southeast, gusting at 17 kilometers an hour. Those conditions were very similar right across the northwestern region. At this time, the Pickle Lake area is seeing very cloudy conditions. However, they are watching the skies for a risk of a thunderstorm and thunder showers. Atikokan and Fort Frances area seeing some heavier cloud cover at this time. A little bit sunnier over near Greenstone, 25 degrees, a little bit of cloud cover this afternoon, a little bit heavier cloud cover down in Sault Ste. Marie where they're currently at 23 degrees. Similar to last night, we're going to drop down quite a bit tonight, going down to an overnight low of 9 degrees, hitting the single digits again. Those partially cloudy skies are going to maintain. Winds changing direction yet again coming out of the north, gusting at 17 kilometers an hour. But again, just like last night, going into today, we are expected to hit very nice temperatures again tomorrow. We're looking at mid-20s, a lot of sun for northwestern Ontario. However, there is a very large active weather system over here. There is a lot of thunderstorms, precipitation, and there is a risk of that heading our way on Saturday. I'll let you know a little bit more about what you can expect from that system later on in the news hour.
Just hoping that rain stays till after the weekend wraps up.
Yep.
Thanks, Phil. Well, Russia has banned food imports in retaliation to the sanctions imposed by the EU, the US, and Canada. I'll have the latest on that story coming up after this break. Russia has banned food imports in retaliation to the sanctions imposed by the EU, the US, and Canada. Here, its main impact would be on the pork industry. Julie Van Dusen reports.
Bruce Hudson has been a pig farmer for 30 years. He's seen the ups and downs of an industry hit by swine flu, trade barriers, and now this, a smack from Russia.
We've worked hard to access the Russian market. They've got some pretty strict requirements, and they worked hard to do that.
Bruce Hudson's pigs are trucked to a food processor in Quebec, where they're turned into products like ham and pork chops. Now Vladimir Putin has shut the door on those products. Senior cabinet ministers took to the airwaves, predicting Russia, not Canada, will be the big loser.
These sanctions that are being put in place by Mr. Putin are going to hurt the Russian economy and Russian consumers far more than they're going to in any way challenge the Canadian economy.
Canada exports $250 million in pork products to Russia. Right now, as many as 1,000 containers of frozen pork worth up to $50 million are headed there.
We're hoping that we'll get very good cooperation from the Russian authorities to allow us, and the Canadian authorities to allow us to redirect those products to other markets.
And he says he's confident new markets can be found, like China.
The good news is, compared with last year, the price for pork around the world is higher than it was last year.
The reason for all this trade angst continues to play itself out far from Canada in Ukraine. Today, NATO's head met with Ukraine's president, Petro Poroshenko, in solidarity and concerned that Russia could be poised to invade.
It wouldn't be in Russia's interest to intervene further.
A Russian representative scoffed at that notion.
There are no plans to invade Ukraine whatsoever. This is ridiculous.
Canada says it's steadfast in its support for Ukraine, today sending non-lethal military equipment like goggles, helmets, and first aid kits, with the threat that more sanctions are coming if Russia doesn't pull back its troops. Julie Van Dusen, CBC News, Ottawa.
The Middle East ceasefire held again today, a hopeful sign for those working in Cairo towards something more lasting. But in Gaza, it was easy to find reasons for pessimism as well. Derek Stoffel explains.
With the war on hold, they're able to be children again. Most of them spent a month locked in their homes as bombs fell and rockets were fired. With this truce, it feels like we were born again, this father says. But much of Gaza still suffers. After 4 weeks of war, garbage is piling up. Raw sewage is running through the streets. The United Nations is warning of a humanitarian disaster. Doctors warn the contamination could bring typhoid and cholera. Medical officials in Gaza say they're running dangerously low on some medicines and supplies. Israel allows some shipments in, but Palestinian doctors say Israel's blockade of the Gaza Strip has to end now. That's the message here, too, at this demonstration backing Hamas. Representatives from Israel and Hamas and the other Palestinian factions are in Cairo looking for a lasting ceasefire. Israel has offered to extend this 3-day truce to give those talks more time, but so far Hamas has refused. Hamas says if the Gaza blockade is not lifted, it will start firing rockets once again tomorrow morning. This Palestinian political analyst says Hamas is now under pressure to show results after a war that left nearly 1,900 Palestinians dead.
If they are not able to achieve a total end to the Israeli siege and blockade, the Palestinians will turn against their own resistance.
With the threat of more rockets as the early Friday deadline for this truce nears, there are many here who worry the region could be immersed in violence yet again. Derek Stoffel, CBC News, Gaza City.
Iraq is in a struggle for survival against militants. And today, militants led by the al-Qaeda breakaway group ISIS may have struck another serious blow. There are reports they have taken control of the country's largest dam, as their campaign to carve out their version of Islamic State creates a humanitarian catastrophe. Lindsay Duncombe has the story.
It's a desperate journey. An estimated 40,000 people, half of them children, are stuck in these desolate mountains without food, without water, without cover. They are Yazidis, an ethnic minority, and they are fleeing the growing advance of ISIS. We and our children ran away to save our lives, she says. We left everything behind. Christians, too, are fleeing. Karakosh, home to 50,000 Christians, was the last city to fall. Communities nearby are reportedly empty. All minorities in the path of the jihadists are given the same brutal choice: convert to Islam, flee, or be killed. There are conflicting reports about who controls the Mosul Dam, troubling not only because it controls the water supply to Baghdad, but because if used as a weapon, water could flood the city of Mosul, killing thousands. To add to the horror, more than 90 people were killed in car bombs in the last 2 days in both Baghdad and Kirkuk. USA, we need help! Pressure on the White House is growing. These Yazidi protesters want the U.S. to bomb ISIS. And while there are reports President Barack Obama is considering just that, save our kids! Or at least dropping humanitarian supplies to people stranded in the mountains, officially, the White House remains deeply concerned.
There are no American military solutions to the problems in Iraq. We can't solve these problems for them. These problems can only be solved with Iraqi political solutions.
As much as the U.S. is loath to wade back into Iraq after a decade of fighting there, it has few other options. Arming other groups would alienate allies in the complicated and unstable region. Lindsay Duncombe, CBC News, Washington.
Alberta's Auditor General has found former Premier Alison Redford and her office used public resources inappropriately. The explosive report details how the Premier's office ignored rules for travel and expenses. Carolyn Dunn reports.
The Auditor General says there was an aura of power around then Premier Alison Redford, so strong her office thought it was above question. And so it broke the rules, a lot of them.
The overall conclusion is that Premier Redford and her office used public resources inappropriately. Premier Redford and her office consistently failed to demonstrate in the documents we examined that their travel expenses were necessary and a reasonable and appropriate use of public resources.
The explosive report details how Redford used government aircraft solely for partisan business at least 3 times. Redford traveled with her daughter and her daughter's friends. Further, her daughter traveled on the aircraft without the Premier. Expenses for a trip to India and Switzerland were underreported at $131,000 when the actual cost of that mission was approximately $450,000. The report says Redford's office used government planes even when commercial travel could have saved millions of dollars. Redford resigned her seat as a Calgary MLA yesterday. Former colleagues like Teresa Wu Pa have been getting a range of reaction from constituents.
I think that understandably so. I think surprised, horrified, some anger, dismay, and lots of disappointment.
With Redford gone, the opposition is focusing its aim at a larger target.
This report, all 44 pages, tells the story of an entire government completely off the rails.
But it's a government that's taking swift action to rid itself of the scandal. Premier Dave Hancock says he will immediately implement all 6 recommendations to reform Alberta's government travel process. And his Solicitor General has referred the entire matter to the RCMP. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
A Calgary hospital is taking steps to keep patients and families together, even during life and death situations. It's part of a hospital-wide philosophy that values the family bond. Jennifer Lee has the story.
Ready? For Lisa Lazenby, these are precious moments. Her 1.5-year-old son, Abel, was born premature. When he was just 2 months old, terror.
He had a seizure and stopped breathing. He went pale and limp.
As ER doctors and nurses worked to save him, Lazenby's instinct was to stay out of their way. Then, out of the chaos, a doctor called her over.
No, you need to come closer. Yours is the only voice, smell, and touch that he'll recognize in this whole room. You need to come here and we will work around you. And I will never forget them saying that.
Calgary's newest hospital was built on the idea that families play a key role in the care of patients no matter what their age. Staff were trained and rooms were designed with this philosophy in mind.
Hearing your voice, feeling your touch, that's very helpful and reassuring to the family and to the patient as well.
While some hospitals and care teams may want family out of the room during critical moments, family members are welcome here, even during resuscitation. A staff member stays by their side to explain what's happening.
Putting in lines and doing procedures and doing chest compressions. And so I think the traditional thought has always been that's pretty traumatic for someone who has no experience in healthcare. But again, most families do really well with that.
To see all the efforts being made to support their loved one is really important. It really fills in any information gaps.
The practice is working so well here, doctors are hoping other hospitals will adopt a similar philosophy.
So that's what we want to see, is just we found something here we think is working and spread it to other sites.
For Lisa Lazenby, being in the room brought comfort to both her and little Abel, and she hopes other families, no matter where they are, will get the same treatment.
I didn't feel like we were anonymous. I felt like he was Abel and I was his mom, and they knew that we needed each other. And yeah.
Jennifer Lee, CBC News, Calgary.
Well, we have one warning about this next story. Do not try it at home. These two Daredevil kayakers decided to race each other down a drainage ditch near Lions Bay, BC. They made it to the end of the ditch in just under a minute, traveling at more than 70 kilometers an hour. And good for us, they recorded it all with their GoPro cameras. I actually think you two should try that maybe on the weekend.
Video of the week?
Video of the week. We'll save it for next week if you guys try it. Well, let's take a look at today's markets. The TSX was down 83 points to 15,118. The Dow Jones was down 75 points to 16,368. The Nasdaq dropped 20 points to 4,334. The Canadian dollar closed at 91.5 cents US. Gold closed at $1,312.50 US per ounce, up $4.30. And crude closed at $97.34 US per barrel, up 42 cents. Well, we've all been watching this tournament very closely over the last couple of days, but some shocking results at the Rogers Cup.
Yeah, especially if you're not a big tennis fan, this would have definitely shocked you if you just get a little bit of the know-how. Wednesday saw the last Canadian in the Rogers Cup face off against a very talented American in Jack Sock. Sock definitely gave Milos Raonic a run for his money. And it shows here, first set point, and Sock takes it to Milos. A hard serve that's just too much for Raonic to dish back. Sock takes the first set 4-6. Second set point, and it's a tiebreaker. Milos looking to survive this encounter. Sock finished his first round bout in straight sets. Can he do it again? Nope. No, he cannot. The Canadian kid gets him moving the wrong way. Milos takes the set 7-6. The final set starts off scary. Another tiebreaker. This one goes skyward. Upon its descent, Milos spots his next move, and just like that, he takes the third and final set 7-6. In the last 2 months, Raonic and Sock have faced off in, get this, 8 sets in 2 months, and Milos has won 7 of them. Now today in the Rogers Cup, Novak Djokovic took on Joe-Wilfried Tsonga in a match that would provide plenty of shock on the side of Novak's play. As you can see here, it looked like his heart was never in it. You can't take anything away from Tsonga, but Djokovic clearly was feeling the effects of playing the dazzler Gael Monfils yesterday. Djokovic hopes of continuing the cup ride on this set point right here, but he would return the serve well wide. Tsonga takes the match in straight sets, 6-2, 6-2. Djokovic almost looks relieved, and as you can see here, Tsonga is just elated. Not a bad form. Maybe he should take up boxing as he knocks out the #1 tennis player in the world. The 3rd annual Patrick Sharp Children's Charity Golf Classic was in full swing at Fort William Country Club today. The Chicago Blackhawks star has lent his off-ice skills to the tournament for the last 3 years. The tournament generates proceeds that go towards assisting the George Jeffrey Center, which helps children living with physical and developmental disabilities in the Northwest. Sharp says it's great to be back in town, and he believes everyone is having a great time on the course.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun. It's been a great time. I think that speaks to the sponsorship, the people that get involved, they come out and golf. They're very generous in helping this tournament grow bigger and better every year. And as we know, the George Jeffrey Center is a vital part of the community for families with the children with special needs. So we're happy to be out here having a good time supporting that cause.
Sharp says he loves coming back to Thunder Bay, and because he doesn't get back here as often as he likes, he really looks forward to this tournament. The first event in 2012 raised $89,000 for the George Jeffrey Foundation. Another check will be presented tonight for the money raised last year. Sticking with golf, Garrett Rank has had plenty of success on the golf course. This week he is looking to add the National Men's Amateur Trophy. Winnipeg is hosting this year's Canadian Championship, but Rank's biggest win thus far has come off the links.
As one of Canada's top amateur golfers, Garrett Rank rarely misses his mark. But a few years ago, he found himself in deep trouble, far from the fairway.
I was diagnosed with testicular cancer in January of 2011.
Rank was just 22 when his world was turned upside down. Young and athletic, he never thought it was possible that he could be diagnosed with cancer.
It was a lot more common than you think, especially in young adults, between the ages of 15 and 29. So it was really surprising and quite the eye-opener.
But cancer never stopped the Ontario golfer. Rank was back on the range within 6 months, and the following year made the national team.
He made pretty good, quick, full recovery. He was so thankful to just be alive. So thankful to be able to play something he loves to play, and just had a great year.
I'm so competitive and sport-driven that I just obviously wanted to play, and being able to, focus on the fact that golf is coming up this summer, I think was a benefactor.
While his fight against cancer helped strengthen his grip on what matters the most.
It was tough, but at the same time, I think it, kind of gave me a better approach at life. A bogey on the golf course, or not scoring a goal on a breakaway, kind of was a little different than it was in the past.
A positive attitude that's important in Rank's approach to his ultimate dream, playing with the pros. Mitch Rossett, Global Sports.
The Thunder Bay Border Cats take on the St. Cloud Rocks at 7 tonight. The Cats lost to the Waterloo Bucks last night 6-3. In MLB news, the Toronto Blue Jays took on the Baltimore Orioles in a late Wednesday affair. The Jays come into this one on a 5-game slide and hope to bounce back. And look at this, bottom of the first, Diana Navarro singles on a soft fly ball to right field. It's soft, but enough to bring Melky Cabrera home. It's 1-0 Jays. Next batter up is Danny Valencia, and he will single on a ground ball up left field. This ball has eyes and a steering wheel as it avoids everyone and finds the hole, allowing Nolan Reimel to come home. The Jays are up 2-0. Top of the second, Chris Davis is not liking what he is seeing from his team, so he takes matters into his own hands. Crack, that one's gone. Davis single-handedly cuts the Jays' lead in half, but that's about all she wrote for the Balts bats. Bottom of the second, Jose Bautista comes in with a Joey Bats special. Yeah, you know what that means. That's a homer. It's his 22nd. He brings in Cabrera and himself, and the crowd is ignited. So is Melky on the sidelines there. He's loving it. Bottom of the sixth, Bautista is up again and looking to keep the ball rolling. It's not exactly a homer, but it goes the distance all the same. Left field troubles allow Minari Kawasaki to get home. It's 5-1, and that's how it holds. The Jays get out of their slump and moved within 4 games of the first-place Orioles, also snapping Baltimore's 3-game win streak. Shifting to the NHL, they were the only Canadian team in the playoffs this year, but they have more to brag about now. The Montreal Canadiens have been dubbed the strongest sports brand in the country. This is much to the chagrin of Leafs fans all over, but what I want to know is, where do my Canucks rank in all of this?
Toronto Maple Leafs fans bleed blue. Now they may be crying the blues with a new survey.
In most respected, Toronto Maple Leafs aren't even in the top 4.
What is going on with Toronto?
According to the online survey by Insightrix Research, the Montreal Canadiens are the top sports brand in Canada.
I don't like Montreal, so I disagree with this.
There must be a lot of French Canadians spread out through the country.
The research group polled more than 2,500 Canadians in 9 cities that have pro sports teams, asking questions like, which team do you respect the most, and what is the team you perceive as having the most fans?
It's not a popularity contest. We're not asking people who is your favorite team. So that's not what it means. What it means is it's about the strength of the brand. How is it perceived?
Now, some fans may question the timing of the survey. The poll went out between May 8th and 26th, smack dab in the middle of the playoffs when the Habs were in and the Leafs were out.
The Leafs are the Leafs. They'll always beat the Canadians. It's a rivalry. We always win.
Now, the Leafs came in second for sports brand ranking, but with popularity, perceived loyal fans, Montreal was first. And when it came to the most respected team, the Habs, Saskatchewan Roughriders, and Toronto Blue Jays take top 3, the Leafs somewhere in top 10.
Well, we got to do something about that, don't we? Or you guys do.
The Leafs were the only NHL team to make the Forbes Most Valuable Teams list, but sports marketing expert Ross Marin says it's about fan experience, not just the business.
They spend a lot of their time and effort, in my opinion, to build a very solid entity in sports. Where the Montreal Canadiens in doing the same thing, but they've reached out to their fans. They understand that the fan is where the power is for them.
Montreal fans, of course, are having too much fun gloating with the new title.
Montreal, they have the cups, and that's something that Toronto might be missing right now. So.
The Leafs have a chance to give back to their fans in 1 month when they host the first ever Fan Fest at the ACC. Carrie Marsden, Global News.
2 sources tell the Associated Press the Cleveland Cavaliers have agreed to a deal to acquire Kevin Love from Minnesota. According to the sources, the Timberwolves will get Canadian #1 overall picks Andrew Wiggins and Anthony Bennett, along with another future first-round pick. Now, I mean, LeBron moving to Cleveland and all those players getting shipped around. I mean, there's a lot of love for Kevin Love right now. Let's just say that. They really want that guy on their team, really want to make a run.
Well, it'll be exciting to see how this season plays out, because last year was quite the year.
Yeah, hopefully the Raps can get up there again, too, because that was pretty exciting. I'm not the biggest basketball fan, but...
When you got a Canadian team, it makes all the difference.
And Lowry, he was lighting it up from the three-point range. That was exciting basketball.
Yeah. Sure was. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah. Over on CKPR tonight, a look at not the power of prayer, but the abilities of imitation medication. With your full lineup, here's Teletalk.
Tonight on Global Thunder Bay, it's an hour of the new comedy Partners. First at 8, 2 lawyers meet on the worst day of their lives. Then at 8:30, Marcus and Alan go undercover to catch a fraudulent wedding planner. At 9, it's the live eviction on Big Brother, where anything and everything can happen. And at 10 on Elementary, Captain Gregson's wife is the victim of a home invasion. Or was she? Over on CKPR Thunder Bay at 8, The Nature of Things questions the power of the placebo. Then at 9, the asteroid is real, and so are the heroes that can stop it on Mission Asteroid. And at 11:35, George has primatologist and messenger of peace, Jane Goodall. For complete listings, go to ckprthunderbay.com.
Well, Phil, I'm hoping to spend the entire weekend outside, and unfortunately that will only be possible if you promise me nothing but sunshine and heat for the next couple of days.
Well, the good news is it's looking like the nice trend of weather that we've had this entire week will continue on through the weekend. I did mention earlier the possibility of a storm. That possibility is still there. I'll let you know about that a little later on. Let's take a look at what happened today. We had a daytime high of 25 degrees, exactly the same as yesterday with sun-cloud mix. With the humidity, it did feel like 28 degrees, but it was still a very pleasant day with winds coming out of the east-southeast for the majority of the afternoon at 17 kilometers an hour. That trend will stay with us. I'll let you know more about that a little later on. Looking across the country, however, Vancouver is currently, computer's acting up just as the weather has for the past few days. Vancouver is currently sitting at 22 degrees. Prince George sitting at 21 degrees. The whole region still feeling the effects of those brush fires, still an air quality advisory in effect. On the other side of the Rockies, Edmonton is sitting at 20 degrees at this hour. Calgary at 25 degrees. Neither of them are being affected, however, by the massive storm that's sort of brewing in between them. That storm is causing heavy rainfall, strong winds, a lot of watches and warnings for a severe thunderstorm for the evening hours and overnight. As we go across the prairie, Saskatoon and Regina, both currently sitting at 27 degrees. Again, there is some heavy storm activity, but neither of the cities are being affected at this hour. Regina is still keeping an eye out, though, for a severe thunderstorm watch. Winnipeg, beautiful right now, 27 degrees. Some heavier cloud cover has rolled in the afternoon. Churchill, still a risk of rain on and off through the afternoon and evening hours, but they're sitting at 25 degrees, which is very nice for this time of year. Going down to southern Ontario, Toronto is currently sitting at 22 degrees. Mostly sunny skies today, a little bit of cloud here and there. Ottawa, Montreal, similar temperatures, but much heavier cloud cover, which is sort of the edge of the system that's causing Quebec City to get a little bit of rain at this time. Their current temperature is 18 degrees. Over on the east coast, Fredericton is currently experiencing very cloudy skies and 19 degrees. Halifax, a little bit warmer and sunny skies. Fortunately, Tropical Storm Bertha has tapered off completely for them, so it's much nicer right now. Charlottetown at 20 degrees and St. John's a bit cooler at 16 degrees. What we are seeing right now is a high pressure system that's lingering over most of Ontario. It's keeping all this nasty precipitation away, even though there is a mix of a warm and cold front just off in Manitoba. What we are going to see, though, tomorrow afternoon is a bit of heavier cloud cover, which could potentially bring a little bit of precipitation, but it doesn't look like it at this time. That risk will disappear as we move into Saturday. Things are going to stay very clear as that high pressure system moves away. Overnight tonight, we are expected to see the temperatures drop down, like I said earlier. A lot of single digits and some very low teens, however, very clear skies, a little bit of cloud here and there for most of the region. Going into tomorrow, however, there is a risk of thunder showers in Fort Frances, Atikokan, and up near Pickle Lake. Just a risk, about 30 to 40%. However, over in Greenstone, Marathon, and Sault Ste. Marie, very pleasant conditions, sort of low to mid-20s, and mostly sunny skies. At this hour, we're down from our daytime high of 25 to 23 degrees. Winds changing direction yet again, now coming out of the south at 15 kilometers an hour. Overnight tonight, like I said earlier, dropping down to the single digits, 9 degrees. Winds will come out of the north at 14 kilometers an hour. Tomorrow, very nice conditions right through the day. We're going to start the day off in the low to mid-teens, but by the mid-afternoon, we should be seeing low to mid-20s temperatures. And Courtney, there you go. Lots of sun, a little bit of cloud, very nice conditions. Over the next 5 days, this is what you can expect to see. Right across the board, we're seeing a sun-cloud mix. On Sunday, there's a 40% risk of a thunderstorm, but hopefully that will stay away. 26 degrees on Sunday is very nice, but the weekend is shaping up to be very pleasant at this time. And that's your forecast.
Time for a weekly visit to the Thunder Bay and District Humane Society shelter. Tonight, Fiona Gardner introduces us to a dog named King.
Hi, this week's Humane Society Pet of the Week is a very handsome young fellow. He is King, who is a 1.5-year-old Border Collie Lab mix. He was brought to the Humane Society because his first owner just didn't have enough time for him, which is unfortunate because he's got a lot of love to give and a lot of kisses, yes. He gets along with other dogs. He's good with kids because he's got that puppy lab in him. And he's got a lot of energy. He does tend to pull a little bit on a leash, but he's a young guy. He can learn if you'll take the time to spend with him. He's looking for a family who wants to take him out and be a part of their lives. So if you could make time for King, he'd certainly love to make it for you.
Your Pet of the Week has been brought to you by Thunder Pet, expert advice and high-quality pet food.
Well, there's a Finnish band out there that's trying really hard to figure out who they are. I'll have that story for you coming up next. here's a Finnish band with a bit of an identity crisis.
You've been thunderstruck.
Steve and Seagulls are steeped in southern U.S. musical tradition, but here they're covering an Australian rock anthem, AC/DC's Thunderstruck. The 5-piece outfit replaces electric guitars with banjos, mandolins, and an accordion. It also got more than 1 million views online since it debuted last week. Pretty interesting stuff. I hope that they continue with this musical tradition because they look like a fun time.
Fun is an interesting word to use as a description there, but
I'll use it. Well, to recap our top story of the day, Thunder Bay OPP have confirmed the body found in the Cam River on Tuesday afternoon was indeed that of a boater who went missing nearly 2 months ago. 56-year-old Terry Weiland of Thunder Bay had gone boating on June 13th when he suddenly disappeared.
And Brett Laurie's back in action tonight with his Blue Jays. We'll have more of that on the late.
And good news, you're headed out either for the weekend or to the CLE. We're looking at mid-20s temperatures right through till the end of Sunday. Still a chance for a thunderstorm, but it's looking like very pleasant conditions for the next few days.
Yes, that's exactly what I was hoping for.
There you go.
Of course, Mike and I will have the latest tonight on the Late Edition with all the latest in news, sports, and weather. And then I'll say thanks and latest one more time, but thank you for joining us. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time.
See you, everybody.